love. Welcome, family. If you're returning here, a very warm and loving welcome to you. If you're finding this video for the first time in this channel, for the first time as well, my name is Eleni, and this is going to be the beginning of, I'm hearing a new movement, a new movement on this channel, a new series on this channel. This is something that I have been wanting very much to do for a while now, and something that I know that a good handful of you have been open to as well here. And that is essentially it's addressing, just like we always do here, the untruths in the form of what we refer to as taboos in the English language, okay? This is a very, 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 very big topic, and there are many layers to it. And immediately, when I began to channel in as to the best way to begin this series, I was really simply focusing on the word taboo and what that word means and the significance of that word and the energy around that word, the symbolism around that word, without going to look at the etymology or the definition or anything first, okay? And right off the bat, I had the energies of Mάνα Εκάτη, Hekate, come through for this, guiding me to work with the energies of black tourmaline. So I'm bringing in that energy here for us now, this big, beautiful piece of black tourmaline that I have. It's like a massive palm stone. See what you can see in that. I feel like there's something in that for you. Because a lot of this, there's a transmutational kind of energy in this. I am recording this during a balsamic luna, so there is this sort of energy of letting go, these things we need to let go of, and fitting that Mάνα Εκάτη would come through for that, because before we even begin to tackle taboo, it's important that we sort of sink into the energy of releasing the old. And specifically, she gave me affirmations or even a mantra really to work with, because this is about letting the new rise up from within us. Because we know this is knowledge that we know within, and being open to release the old misunderstanding is how she was presenting it to me. So I'm just going to read the affirmations that you can either repeat, just listen to as we move into this kind of energy and the video. Okay, one wants to come through here. I am open to releasing the old misunderstandings, the old indoctrinations, and the old programming. I am open to understanding the origin of so-called taboos, because an open mind and an open heart is very important, because she's showing me again like how it's so much about, I get so many analogies with this with regard to planting seeds, the soil being ready, because we're moving into new territory here, right? But it's also, it's like something that's being unlocked. And it's interesting because I'm hearing now klidujos, like that is one of the things that Mάνα Εκάτη can assist us in doing, okay? She holds the keys in a way, but she's just reminding us that she is reflecting that within us. Okay, this is not about an outward worship in any way. Okay, I just want to make that very, very clear here. This is about unlocking those things within us and having the supportive energies around us to do that. But we ourselves have to have the openness and the willingness to do that. So starting with these affirmations, starting with these intentions essentially is what it is, right? That's the important thing. So when I asked her taboo, what is this energy of taboo? What are we talking about here? She immediately gave me the word thyroid, which is the Greek word for thyroid, the thyroid gland. And with that, I immediately saw this very light blue energy. For me, that is how I understand the energy systems and the chakras in the body, and it being connected to the element of sound and also the voice, truth, the energy of speaking the truth, okay? And I'm going to get to, actually, and this is, I looked this up right before I began the video because I wasn't entirely sure. I'm like, there's something in the word thyroid. We got to look that up. So, of course, I went to Edam Online, one of my favorite websites. And the word thyroid does come from the Greek word thyroides, which literally translates to shield shaped, because it's like a shield shaped cartilage, okay? And when you break that word down, thyrios or thyran is a door. It's a doorway or a door-shaped shield. From thyra or thyran, door, okay? This idea of a doorway. And idis is a Greek word that denotes shape or form, okay? So what's really fascinating about that is that this is a doorway. The energy of, and this just, again, this is a whole other topic we could get into about this energy center, the throat chakra and the thyroid, and this energy of it being like a doorway, a shield. Isn't that crazy? A shield. And there's a lot in terms of that, of this being open. She's bringing it back to this energy of being open-minded, but it's also about what we speak and what we say, and how the energy commonly understood today around taboos is about also silencing this area. Because if there is a taboo, you do not speak it. And this is where it goes into the next meaning that she gave me, which is around the sacred and the things that are unspoken yet deeply understood. The things that are unspoken yet deeply understood. Okay? Now the word taboo, she's saying taboo is a misnomer. There's another layer to it, and we have to go deeper with it. And one of the things that she later brought through was this energy of the taboo then becoming the profane. Because it's sort of like a double-edged sword in a way. That's interesting that that's coming through, because the sword is connected to air, it's connected to communication, the sword is connected to words, and where do we hear words, and where do we make words? We make it through this center, okay? So if I look up now the etymology of taboo, again, going to Edam Online, one of my favorite websites, we know the word taboo, and this was something that was also confirmed when I was channeling. It's connected to the Polynesia, that area, okay? And specifically, I was given like Tahiti, and I even saw Moana at some point. and Lemuria, which is really interesting. So it is connected to that. I can't, what did I say here? I can't read my writing. This is what happens when I channel. So it's somehow in the language. Thank you. It's somehow in the language of that, connected to Lemuria. It's defined as consecrated, inviolable, forbidden, unclean, or cursed, prohibited to a certain class, explained in some sources as being from Tongan, Polynesian, the Polynesian language of Tonga, taboo, sacred, from ta, mark, and bu, especially. And then it proceeds to say this may be folk etymology, as linguists in the Pacific have reconstructed an irreducible Proto-Polynesian tapu from Proto-Oceanic taboo, sacred or forbidden. Compare this to Hawaiian kapu, taboo, prohibition, sacred, holy, consecrated. Tahitian tapu, restriction, sacred, devoted, and oath. The Maori tapu, to be under ritual restriction or prohibited. Isn't that interesting? So there is a double meaning to this, in the sense of sacred, so as not spoken. It's kind of giving me the energy here of the word God in like the Hebrew tradition, and how you cannot say the name, right? It's like, it's so sacred, it's so profound, to then say it is profane. Okay? But what's interesting is that there's something else hiding again beneath this. There is a power or an energy or a divinity and a sacredness that is hiding underneath this. Hence, there's another layer to it, go deeper, okay? And what Mάνα Εκάτη is directing me towards is the profane, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but it's this energy of the divinity that is within being marked as profane. And this goes back to at some point in history when we turn this shit on its head, okay? I'm going to stop there because if I get too far ahead, it's going to get all over the place. So she's saying that's how we come to understand the meaning of taboos, by going within ourselves to understand many times what has been smeared in the taboo sense of being bad, and I'm putting that in quotation marks, right? And being directly addressed as negative or bad. But what is hiding underneath that? What is the layer underneath that? What are we missing? And a lot of this comes back to the energy of the divine feminine and how that has been demeaned historically. And I'm talking about the history of Earth, the timeline of Earth, and history as we have come to understand it through the lens of the programming, through the lens of the indoctrination, and the kind of mundane aspects of the 3D, okay? I was also given that these taboos really sit within our root center. And I also got the core of Mother Earth, the core of Mama Gaia. So there's a lot of red energy, color energy, red light that comes in through that. So there's something about survival connected to this. And we're going to get to that in a moment, because at some point I was also directed by her to pop cards from the tarot. And I even heard her say the taboo of tarot, right? Because this is another thing that has been deemed a taboo. Tarot, and a lot of that comes from a misunderstanding based on, and also very deliberate in a way, but you can argue that is what she's saying, because there's so many layers to it, and we're not going to get to it all in one video. That's why this is going to be a series, okay? But I heard her say the tarot wants to speak for herself. The tarot wants to speak for herself. The tarot is a tool. And that was just a kind of side note to this concept of taboos, because sometimes the things that we deem as being very taboo are simply tools. And it's how they are used that makes all the difference, okay? So, while I was shuffling, the King of Cups and the Page of Wands popped out of the deck. And there was a message there very quickly about emotional mastery in the King of Cups and the curiosity of spirit in the Page of Wands, and being very open-minded, going back to the affirmation of being open-minded to understanding at a deeper level what these taboos actually are and what even that means, okay? And looking at it from the context of when that word evolved in our language. Like if I go very quickly back to this, like it's dated here on Edom Online as being recorded in the English language in 1777. What an interesting number there. We got 3 sevens and a 1. 7 is always the energy of going deeper, right? Right off the bat. And it's also an energy, 1616 on the timer as I say that. This 7 again. 14, temperance. 14, the number of movement, of change, okay? So this is all very, it's all connected. It's all connected, okay? This is so much about going deeper and digging. You know, the number 7 can be very much about balancing the intuition with the intellect. It's about doing the research, but then almost like cross-checking it with your own intuition. Is this sitting well with you? Is the source on? Is some of the things right? Do they seem off? That kind of thing. Okay. And once I started shuffling again the deck, I put those cards back because they were sort of in the midst of me just sort of prepping the space. Commander Ashtar wanted to come through as well, to come in to give a galactic perspective on this. And while I was shuffling, he directed me to pull a card out, and it was the Ace of Pentacles, which I have in front of me now. I'm just going to pop that out. Okay. And what I heard with this is planting new seeds of light codes consciousness around this, around the energy of taboos. So if you are watching this reading right now, he's directing me to say this. It is important to note that this is significant for you too, in some way in your life or on your mission, okay? The King of Cups popped out again. So this is a big message here. And he kept on coming through. Spirit, Commander Ashtar, Mana Ekati, Mama Gaia also was really bringing this really focus on this emotional mastery. The power of also the unconscious and the collective unconscious in how we absorb concepts of taboos and the collective consciousness as well. Okay. Then the 10 of Pentacles came out in reverse. This is going back to that root chakra energy and the whole concept of the taboo related to the root at that energy center, related to this idea of being able to survive. How if you do not follow the norm, or if you are not following the indoctrinated beliefs, you're cast out. And this is about the fear of that, essentially. I heard him say, protecting your assets. And he was actually giving that to me in quotation marks. Like it was like the concept of protecting your assets, the concept of protecting what you've worked hard for, protecting the land. I even heard protecting the land. This is very much coming from that perspective of a more patriarchal lens of the material wealth, this idea of legacy in that respect, okay? Protecting, I also heard the people, protecting family, protecting loved ones. And there is a tremendous amount of compassion that comes through with that as well. This is not about judgment in any way for wanting to protect your assets. He's actually bringing this through a very compassionate lens. But, he says, remember that this is coming from a place of fear, and that the choices and the decisions we make that come from a place of fear perpetuate the fear. And so much of this is connected to consciousness, and the consciousness that is also massively shifting right now. And this is precisely why addressing taboos at this moment in time, in the moment that you are watching this, in the moment that I'm recording this, is significant. These messages are always timely yet timeless, but he's really bringing this back to the timeline that we are on now. And Commander Ashtar is all about timelines. The timeline that we are on right now. And especially for those of you who resonate with having a mission in this respect, okay? And this doesn't have to be, again, when I say that, I'm not talking about some crazy ass, freaking mission work that needs to look a very specific way. This could be even around your relationships, your family, the people around you, you being a generational chain breaker, for example, okay? And you work a regular, beautiful 9-to-5 job, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? That's a whole other topic anyway. So we had the Four of Swords come out. Oh, interesting. I went to go pick up the deck, and it split at strength. We're going to keep that because that's significant. Four of Swords came out in reverse at the bottom of the deck. So what I heard with that is we are coming out of this slumber. We are coming out of this slumber. And it's interesting that in the Four of Swords, in Pamela's Genius, in the Rider-Waite-Smith, okay, you see this sort of church-like atmosphere. And what's funny, like I don't know, for some reason it was really coming through like Westminster Abbey for me when I saw it. And I was like, yeah, like Westminster Abbey. And this was reminding me a lot of the Five of Pentacles, right? Sorry, let me get that. I don't know, it was just really blazing through for some reason in this particular message. And I kept on hearing tombs, like the tombs at Westminster Abbey, and I heard the phrase lay to rest. I also heard, it's like laying to rest these concepts of judgment, okay? Laying to rest the misunderstanding and unearthing, untombing in a way, unearthing and revealing the truth about these taboos. And then I was directed again to the King of Cups, okay? And actually, Commander Ashtar is directing me. There's also the star card wants to pop out here as well. And I'm seeing the Page of Wands again. Okay. Emotional strength and fortitude. Emotional mastery. This King of Cups really is coming through as an energy and an archetype that we can really work with. I'm being directed to his heart, this sort of breastplate. Isn't that interesting? And now I'm getting the connection there with thyroid and this shield-like energy. So this is coming through here as a conch shell to me. I'm seeing a spiral vortex here at the heart, and the heart is like that. The heart is a portal. It is a vortex. One of the best ways that we can address the fear around taboos, the agitation around taboos, what I was hearing Commander Ashtar say, is to access the vortex of the heart. And while I was channeling this information, I had a playlist going on, my day list on Spotify, and a song came on called The Integration by Estas Tone, or Tone, I'm not too sure. It's Tonne, and Tobias. I've never heard this before. And there was a man who I believe this is a person who's channeling an energy called Tobias, or being, this is entirely new to me. Please put a comment down below if this is familiar to you. Because I was like, it could not have been more beautifully timed or synchronistic. So you hear music in the background, to this man channeling and speaking. Again, this energy just of channeling and speaking, right? And he's talking about the shadow and saying the shadow is us. And I heard Commander Ashtar say right away, the taboo of the shadow. And this is, we're going to be talking a lot about this, let's just say, but this was a side note. And it's interesting that the strength card splits here, because what we have here is an energy I'm hearing of integration and equilibrium of the shadow. Because in the strength card, what we're doing here, how Commander Ashtar is showing this to me, is this beast, and that term has been used very interestingly to talk about a lot of shadow energies, right? It's this concept of taming the beast, but it's not doing it in a way where we are trying to, we're doing it from a place of hate, is what I'm hearing. We're not doing it from a place of hate or fear. We're doing it from a place of love and understanding and a deeper truth that lies here, okay? It's crazy. And I made some more notes on this. That was like kind of, I was totally wrapped up in what was being said in this particular piece. And I made some more notes, which is a little related to something else. But what Commander Ashtar is showing me right now, and he's like, underline it, is that is the mission. That is the mission. Okay, so where did we and when did we get this definition of taboo? When did it turn? When did it become something that was not so associated with something sacred, but with something bad? When did we get that? And I heard Mάνα Εκάτη say, when we made the sacred profane. And I also heard the word heresy. Now, heresy, the root of that word is connected to choosing. And I heard to choose otherwise. I've done videos on this before, and this information has come through before with regard to what the etymology of that word is. But a heretic, it's kind of like the word taboo. The same thing happened to it in terms of heresy. A heretic originally was someone who chose otherwise in terms of the religion or beliefs of the day, until that was persecuted. And then that became a bad word, okay? I heard the cataclysmic shift. It shifted the climate of how we saw or interpreted the divine. And when I heard that, I asked why? Why? And I was overcome with grief. I just started crying in the middle of this. And again, all I heard was fear. Fear. We learned to fear our own power. I'm going to get to what this is bringing up in you too, right? Because this is important. We learn to fear our power. We learn to fear what we didn't fully understand or comprehend with the mind. And with the mind taking precedence, right? A connection to the heart was lost. And they gave me the analogy here of a phone, that the phone is still physically connected. The physical connection is still there. It's still wired. That's the word that they gave me. But the energy is not going through. It's not going through. So feel into what is coming up within you at this point when you feel this, because I was just overtaken with a tremendous sense of grief and sadness. And I remember being an observer of this. I remember having a tremendous sense of compassion at the same time for humanity, for this fear, for what they were experiencing, okay? But at the same time, complete, utter heartbreak at essentially the sacred becoming damned, is what I'm hearing, okay? And they just keep on bringing me back to the King of Cups, to this energy of self-mastery, of emotional feedback and regulation, and the vortex portal of the heart. I'm going to say that one more time as I close out this reading. Self-mastery and emotional feedback and regulation in that respect, and the vortex portal of the heart. Okay? So that is the first installment here. Please leave any insights below, any comments, any questions you might have about this. If there are questions that you even feel you want to direct towards, I'm even hearing Commander Ashtar, Mάνα Εκάτη, anything in terms of understanding this as we move forward in this series, please feel free to leave comments below. Nothing in essence is wrong to be thinking about when it is coming from a very heart-centered place, okay? When it's coming from a place of truly wanting to understand this at a deeper level. And we really need to address the fear around this and the fears that come up around this collectively, because what Commander Ashtar is also showing me is that this is part of when we begin to walk a spiritual path, even within the spiritual community. It's very important to be aware of the traps and the taboos and where those come from, okay? I'm going to end it there. Thank you, Mάνα Εκάτη. Thank you, Commander Ashtar. Thank you, Spirit, for bringing through these messages. I thank you. I thank your guides, your team, your higher self for bringing you to this energy and this space, and for this finding you. And I'm sending you so much love wherever you are. In love and liberation always.